This is for the City of Boise's public art project, Water Conservation and Resiliency. This info session will take about 30 minutes, and let me introduce myself. My name is Hannah Williamson. I am the Public Art Project Coordinator for our Public Works Percent for Art Fund. I manage and develop public art projects that align with the City of Boise's climate and sustainability goals through our public works initiatives. I'm joined by the Public Art Programs Manager, Stephanie Johnson. She's going to be helping me with the questions at the end, which you can submit through the Q&A feature of the Zoom link. And I will also introduce Jolene Mary. She is our purchasing liaison who is also helping with this project. Jolene, do you want to introduce yourself? We might be having some technical difficulties, but I'll give Jolene a chance at the end to say anything that I might have left out regarding purchasing and Jagger. So, let's see. So today's info session, we'll go over the basics of the project and answer any questions you might have. The agenda for today is project overview, application and criteria, selection process, touch a little bit on our collection, and then tips and time for any questions at the end. With that, I'll start with a few housekeeping things. This info session is being recorded and will be available on our YouTube page, which you can find through the Arts and History website. All questions received during this info session will be posted with the answer on the Jagger Q&A board. And this is a webinar style meeting, so please submit your questions through the Q&A feature on the Zoom call. So, a little overview of the project. This project is an RFQ with up to 3 finalists being compensated $1,000 to develop and present a project proposal with an interview involved. At the core, so the project itself, we want to integrate a meaningful, educational, and environmentally conscious artwork into Boise's natural landscape. The selected work will reflect the significance of water in our high desert ecosystem and engage viewers in themes of sustainability, conservation, and community connection. Like I said before, up to 3 artists will be selected and compensated $1,000 for proposal and an interview. Community engagement is baked into this public process, and you can read more about that in developing of your proposal at that stage. For the selected artist and the 3 finalists, resources will be provided to help develop and strengthen the proposal. So for the selected artist, you will have access to survey that we did for this area. You'll have access to the history of the area. During the development of your project, we will work with a conservator, and we will be available for any additional facilitating of resources as well. So this is just a larger view of the project site. As you can see, the project site is on the left side, middle left side of the image. This space is a very popular park in Boise. It has a ton of different amenities, as you can see, but what's not featured is there are tennis courts to the left or to the right of the volleyball courts, and a large hill opening up to the Camel's Back Reserve. And I'll have a photo in the next slide showing from the top of the hill looking down on Camel's Back Park. This is a much-loved park that hosts many festivals and events throughout the year in that open space. One thing to note is the site is in close proximity to the park, or to the playground, I should say. It is separated by a chain link fence, but easily accessible. This would be important to consider in future development of the proposal. So, going on to project goals, these are the 4 project goals associated with this project: educational impact, inspire thought, provoke discussion, and elicit action. Environmental integration, harmonize with the natural environment. Integration of drought-tolerant plants is encouraged, and just water-conscious values. Number 3 goal is community connection, where the interdependence between the community and Boise's water resources reflect shared responsibility and collective impact. Consider location, that it's next to a playground. Accessibility and inclusion. It must be accessible and consider experiential design features such as kinetic or haptic elements for a full experiential piece. So this is a photo of Camel's Back from the top of the hill. As you can see, it is quite a large park. You can see the playground and the parking lot, and just directly straight ahead is the project site. I just wanted to touch really quickly, I just thought it was a fun correlation. We recently finished an installation of this piece by Hua Designs called Sky River. I will play the video. It is part 1 of 4 installations integrated into a mini park in downtown Boise. And I wanted to highlight this work because it actually is, by coincidence, only a great example of how to include a visual / haptic element, or even talk about water without the use of actual water. So this is Sky River by Hua Design Studios. Let's see. So moving on, this is the anticipated project timeline, which you can find in the application material, the call material. This is anticipated. It is subject to change for any reason, but one deadline that is set is the Q&A deadline. Any questions you might have are due to the Q&A board on Jagger by Wednesday, November 6th at 5 p.m. Also, we will have our finalists selected early December, and then give those finalists about a month to develop a proposal. Finalist presentations in mid-January will be virtual, and those finalists will be compensated. And then, just to note, installation is expected to take place around August or September of 2027. So moving on to application and criteria. The application consists of these materials uploaded and submitted as a single PDF package. Short responses, 500 words or less, and you can find that under the application content. And then everything else is pretty self-explanatory. Here is the criteria. This is the same criteria that the selection panel will be using to score you. And here is, that's a little blurry. Here is the scoring rubric that the panelists will use in the process of scoring. And this too is also included in the documentation for the RFQ. Excuse me. Let's briefly touch base on the selection process. So Artist selection will be determined by a panel, a group that consists of local community members, artists, project stakeholders, a public works commissioner, and an arts and history commissioner. Arts and history staff do not select this artist. Panelists will use the scoring rubric to score applications based on the criteria included in the call. Panelists will convene to discuss top scored applicants, and up to 3 of the highest scored artist teams will be invited to submit a concept proposal. The finalists will be compensated $1,000 for their proposals and then invited to present an interview with the panel in mid-January. And again, that is a virtual presentation and interview. So moving on to tips and questions. Tips specifically regarding the Q&A board. Any questions you might have, please submit them onto the Jagger Q&A board. If you have any issues with that, reach out to Jolene, our purchasing liaison. All questions asked in this info session will be posted on our Q&A board. The signature page, applications will not be accepted without your signature on the signature page, so please remember to do so. And are there any more questions? All right, we have a raised hand. Yeah. Nora, can you add your question to the chat or the Q&A feature? Okay. Yeah. Okay, I'm muted.
So we have 2 questions. The first one, can the piece connect to the sidewalk adjacent to the site?
So let me go back to the image of the site. We intend on making this accessible by creating a walking path somewhere along, connecting either to this sidewalk or this sidewalk. So that is the intention, to make it accessible through that.
Another question is, so you are not looking for murals?
No, this is a physical sculpture. There is no substrate available for a mural in this area. Okay.
Can you give any detail on what the $114,000 for installation would cover?
Yeah, so that includes the site prep, and maybe Stephanie can add to everything that is included in the site prep. It's also our admin costs included in the site prep, and hiring a construction crew to form the foundation and create the base for the installation. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yes, the $114,000 for installation covers any footings that need to be dug and poured. It includes the design for any of the landscaping that has to be done, which then also requires us applying for a building permit. And so we cover all of that cost on the admin side. The artist is only responsible for their design and then fabrication of their design and transporting the artwork to installation. Another question, why is the site for a water art piece? And the second part of that question is, how literal is the request for the piece to blend into the environment?
Why is the site for a literal art water piece? This site was chosen after quite a bit of research and digging around. This, I should clarify, we are not specifically looking for a water piece, specifically being that it's about water conservation. Doesn't necessarily mean that it is a water piece. This site was chosen based off its proximity to the foothills, drawing the connection between our love of our natural environment around here and the necessity of the water in the surrounding area and our water resources, wanting to draw that connection for people. And then what was the second half of that question? Yeah.
Second half of the question is, how literal is the request for the piece to blend into the environment?
It doesn't necessarily mean blending into the environment. Through the survey that we did last year, we got 1,700 results back, and it was made clear that this piece, it's important with its proximity to the foothills, that it doesn't stick out, that it more complements the foothills and enhances the natural environment as it is.
Next question is, what is the anticipated lifespan of this project? How much of the educational component can be actual in-person programming, and how might the budget be allocated to the latter in-person component?
That is a good question, and I think that really depends on what the final piece actually becomes. I would love to discuss with Stephanie and Jolene and be able to give you a more thorough answer and post it in the Q&A board on Jagger.
Would you be open to something that is part sculpture, part water capture that diverts said water to plants that may need upkeep? So there would be a landscaping element.
Yes, we are totally open to that. We address it in the call. That is something that would be welcome in a proposal.
Is lighting and/or electrical hookup also potentially covered by the city site prep, or would we need to include that in our fabrication installation budget?
Also, good question. I would say that it is a little bit of both, and really would come down to the details during the fabrication and installation plan, how we delegate those.
What about maintenance? Is there budget for that?
We do have a maintenance budget that is spread across our entire collection. So there is budget, but within the project, we just ask that you are mindful of making a piece that can withstand, that doesn't face a lot of maintenance issues. But we fully plan and anticipate maintenance of all of our pieces in the collection.
This question, oh,
sorry.
This question is asking for a 360 view of the project site.
I do not have one of those available currently. That is a good question and something to consider, and I will touch base with Stephanie about how we can include that in the Q&A board if possible.
Native desert plants don't do well when overshaded or overwatered. Will there be a possibility of removing trees in the project area if they overly impact the project plan?
So we chose an area specifically not directly under any trees or reach much shade from the trees, but we have had conversations with our Parks and Rec team discussing any need for pruning or cutting back any of the trees in the area. With that said, also working within the space that is there is important.
Is there a maximum height or height restriction?
It depends. It really comes down to the specifics of the piece and working with our local Parks and Rec and the our Ada County Highway District on requirements being close to a street, what those height restrictions would entail.
Is the project geared toward kids given the proximity to the playground?
Good question. No, not necessarily. This area is used by people of all ages and walks of life. It's a really diverse and populated area for recreation. So this is, it just happens to be next to a playground, but it is not specifically intended to be for children.
Is it possible to receive a link to a recording for this meeting?
Yes, if you have registered for this event, then a link to this recording will automatically be sent to you once the recording is ready. Okay.
Is preference given to local artists?
In the call, we state that local artists are encouraged to apply, but we look at every artist equally. There is merit in the perspective and viewpoint of artists from out of state and locally, so there's no preferential treatment for any local artist.
Are the project site dimensions available somewhere?
We do not have specific site dimensions yet. That is something that we will provide when we have the top 3 finalists. Right now, I will reiterate that this is just an RFQ, a request for qualifications. So there's no planning needed right now for any proposal for that space. Okay. Any further questions? All right. If you do have any more questions, please feel free. Oh, one more? Okay. Give me a second.
This question is,
Sorry.
I am an experienced public sculptor, but I haven't done much by way of experiential artwork. How likely are you to consider an artist new to this type of artwork?
That we weigh your entire application, and there are a set criteria, and we take into consideration your whole application, including your previous experience and other sculptural or public art projects. It is just one component of the project in its entirety. All right. If you have any more questions, please feel free to post them onto the Q&A board on Jagger. And with any questions or complications with that, you can also reach out to Jolene. Oh, one more question. Okay, give me one.
This question is a two-part question. The city intends, and it's quoting, I believe, the content from the call. The city intends to award the contract to one artist or artist team. However, the city reserves the right to award to more than one applicant. How would this work? E.g., award an artist for the design and another team for the build? So we are awarding one contract to an artist or artist team for the design and fabrication of the artwork. The other portion of the budget is for our administration costs of working with a construction team to construct the footing elements for the artwork to attach to. So we're not asking the artist to take that on within their budget. And no, it would not be another artist that would be doing that. It would be construction.
All right. If there are no further questions, thank you for taking time to come to this information session. If you have any questions, please add them to the Q&A board on Jagger, and look forward to seeing all of your applications. Last reminder, deadline for applications is November 13th at 1 p.m. Mountain Standard Time.